Hello, and welcome to hubappraisal.com. My name is Steve. I have been a real estate broker since 1987 and a real estate appraiser since 1999. And I'm here today to basically discuss the many ways or reasons somebody should order an appraisal and who should order an appraisal. Obviously, we all understand that when there's financing involved, if you're buying a house, if you're selling a house and the buyer needs a mortgage, there's most likely going to be an appraisal involved. Now, an appraisal is a formal report written under certain standards and guidelines that utilizes the current market data and puts a number, a value on a property so that the banks understand their loan that they're giving somebody is protected by the collateral being the real estate. Now, you can get loans for land, single families, multifamilies, commercial, industrial, business, but today I'm strictly going to be talking about residential real estate appraisals. That is basically a single family, a condo, 2, 3, or 4 unit property. Mobile homes are not my forte. I really don't understand that end of the industry. I've never done one. So if that's what you have or that's what you're planning on buying or selling, obviously you can call a local appraiser, and I'm sure there's people in your area that deal with it, but I personally do not get into the mobile home type properties. Okay, so if you're very rich and you can buy property with cash, you do not need a mortgage, you do not need an appraisal. However, it may be a smart investment to have an appraisal. I'll talk a little bit later down the line for that. Now, a first mortgage is the first lien placed against collateral, or that being the real estate. So if you want to buy your first home, you have to talk to a mortgage company, a local bank, a local credit union, and discuss what you qualify for, and you come out with a price range. You shop within the price range, you make an offer. When an offer is accepted, the bank will place a lien on that property for a first mortgage. If you stop making payments, if you lose your job, if you get divorced, and there's a million other reasons, the bank is protected. They take the house. We have all seen short sales. We have all seen foreclosures. Unfortunate side of the business, but it happens every day and every year. So a first mortgage basically would require the appraisal. The paperwork would go into the report and into the history of the home, and it's used as collateral and protection for the lender. Now, if you're also building a home, if you want to build a home, you can always ask an appraiser direct and say, we want to build a log cabin in the middle of the city. Would that make sense? And it's going to cost us $500,000 to build it there. An appraiser can tell you you're crazy. Nobody wants a log home in the middle of the city, and it's only going to be worth $250, but you're going to spend $500 to build it because of the land cost, because of the different things. And then what market will there be when you go to sell? Maybe buyers don't want a log home in the middle of the city. That's one of the examples. So you can get a value or an idea of value before you ever go through the mortgage hoops, or you start dreaming, or maybe that'll change your plans from a log home to a traditional home, or more a duplex, or whatever that area might warrant that would bring back a better return on value. Those are the type of things you could get out in front of, calling an appraiser direct and just telling them the story, and they'll write up the report accordingly. Now, you could also be doing like a rehab to your house. Sometimes people want to change their kitchens. It's happened a lot. People want to change bathrooms. Well, that can get extremely expensive. And when you open up the can of worms, opening up the walls, maybe the electrical system is underrated or outdated, and you need to beef up the materials, the volume, the wattage, voltage, all that good stuff, and you need to put in better stuff on the circuit panel, and that can get pretty pricey, and you don't plan on that at the beginning. So you may want to have an idea of what you want for a project, call an appraiser. They'll do this before the mortgage is involved. They'll do this up front, and they'll tell you if the project will be worth the end game. Is there going to be a better value and better return on your value on your investment, or is that something that you're in trouble with? It happens a lot. I do them probably 4 or 5 times a year. I'll go out to a new construction site, or somebody wants a 500 square foot addition, or somebody wants to finish their basement. It's going to cost them $50,000 to do that, but it's only going to return $20,000, $25,000 in value to the house. Is that something you want to get into? Now, if you need the space, so be it. But from a mortgage perspective, the banks might turn you down. You might want to know that ahead of time. Just saying. Ideas like second mortgages. Maybe you can consolidate your second mortgage into your first mortgage and pull a little cash out to put on a new roof, to put on new siding, to get a kitchen done. Well, again, you can call an appraiser and just say, I'm looking for a quick, cheap, dirty valuation idea, opinion, if that all can happen. You would need it to come in at X price. The appraiser doesn't care what price you need or want to make your project work. We are Switzerland. We don't work by numbers like that. We just tell you what the market is currently doing and where your property would fall in that market. It's also not the appraiser's job to get the maximum extreme top dollar for your property. We tell you what's most likely in the marketplace. A buyer will most likely want to pay this range, and in the middle of that range is probably the sweet spot. If you need $10,000, $15,000 more than that, appraisers don't really get into that, going to the maximum dollar. We basically just tell you this is probably the most realistic place that's going to price out at. With that being said, you can figure out if your project's going to work or not work, if you can consolidate mortgages and refinance or cash out. Those are all ideas you can get with an appraiser up front. Maybe you want a second home, but you have to borrow against the current home. Again, that might be something you want to talk to an appraiser beforehand, get an idea. You can pull out $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 in equity to make that project work. I'm here in Massachusetts, and a lot of people in the winter leave for Florida and Arizona and Myrtle Beach and all these fun areas. Someday when I grow up, I hope to, but as of right now, I'm stuck here in the winterland. So you can also figure out if you want to move on to a second home, if you want to get a condo, if you want to do a second project, move out, a beach house, whatever. You can call an appraiser in ahead of time. We don't have to do a full-blown formal report like we would for a bank. We can go a shorter, quicker form. Maybe we don't even have to see the house if you give us enough data. It all depends on what your needs are and what you're willing to do for us and what we can do for you. And it might be something that can be done easily, no heavy lifting, and yet you'll have your numbers, good ballpark anyway, to see if your project will work. Now, of course, since the Great Recession, 2008, the financial market was in deep sneakers. Everything has changed since then. The mortgage industry has changed dramatically. The lending investor levels have changed dramatically. The credit industry has changed dramatically. Credit scores are more widely used now than they were then. The appraisal industry was flipped on its head and basically reinvented. That'll be a separate big topic down the road. I'm sure you guys will love to see. But what happened during that time frame is legislation put in place that there needed to be a middleman. Nowadays, they're called Appraisal Management Companies. Example, you want to buy a house. You need a mortgage. You go and apply for that mortgage. That mortgage company will then have to hire a company, a third-party neutral company or a separate division of the existing lender that has no input as to the deal, not getting paid direct from the transaction, no personal connection, so to speak. It's a neutral third party that hires the appraiser now. So I don't know what you're borrowing. I don't know a lot of stuff, potentially, than I used to. The appraisal management companies are the ones that basically control a massive portion of the appraisal business. And they have their own rules and regs. They have layers upon layers above and beyond what the banks want, and they have layers above and beyond what the government wants. So when it gets to us, there's reams and reams of books and rules and things that we have to follow. Again, I'll get into that with my forms series, but right now I'm talking about who can order an appraisal and what are some of the reasons. So an AMC is more on the lender side. You're needing a mortgage. A lot of times it's now most often going through an appraisal management company, an AMC. So if you hear those words, that basically is what that means. My client, my order comes from the AMC, not the lender direct, not the buyer direct, not the seller direct, and not any of the real estate agents that might be involved. Mine comes from alleged Switzerland. Okay, with that said, if you are a seller, you currently own real estate, and there's a million ways you can own real estate. You could be an investor, you could own your own home, you could own a second home, you could have inherited a home, you could be getting a home via probate, going through courts right now. Nobody had a will, but it's going to end up partially in your control. If you are a seller, you can always call a real estate appraiser to tell you what you have for value, what you have for a property, what you have for potential. And then you can deal with it accordingly. Finance it, sell it, whatever it may be. So a seller, before you put it on the market, before you talk to a real estate agent gets paid on commission on the dollar of the house. And when we get into the forms series, if you follow along, you're going to find out that there's hundreds of things in an appraiser's report and research that doesn't jive with what real estate agents do. And I have some dog and pony shows that I can tell you later. But anyway, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of deals that go south and never can get the financing or never can get the value for multiple reasons that are in an appraisal that's beyond our control. We're just doing what we're told by all of the parties above us. So a pre-listing valuation might be a smart thing. We'll tell you this is going to be a red flag for financing. This is going to be a red flag for something else. And we might give you some insight or education that you didn't even know was going to happen. Real estate agents, many of them don't know what we actually do day to day. So if you're going to be listing, pre-list, you might want to call in an appraiser and get their opinion of value, know what the market's doing, and basically take it from there. If you're a seller and you have a unique property, you have a waterfront, or it's just something that's a little different than the market, you're in a suburban area but you own a lot of acreage, or you're a big house with a lot of small houses around you, or you're a small house with a lot of big houses around you. There's a lot of different ways a property can be unique for the market, for that time and that day. And an appraiser can sort through all of that fog, so to speak, and try to provide a quality opinion of value. And once it's in writing, that's something you can potentially leverage. You can show buyers, I have an appraisal done. This is the range it came in. These are the reasons why. Here's what the market's doing. And you can kind of take some of that to the bank to a point. When the buyer's lender eventually gets involved, they're going to have their own appraisal. But obviously, depending if the research was done correctly and the property is correct, it should come to the same conclusion within a range. Okay, unique homes. You might be getting relocated for work. There's a lot of people moving on right now. A lot of changes in country. People from Connecticut moving different places. Massachusetts is losing population. California, New York are losing population. So they're going somewhere. There's relocations. There's people leaving their jobs, people leaving their neighborhoods. You can have a relocation appraisal. And a lot of times that would inquire a shorter time frame because you're under duress, so to speak, to move on. You have 3 months or 6 months to get to your next job. You need to make sure the house is gone or at least controlled. So that's a specific type of appraisal and a certain time frame. You have to adjust accordingly to the needs and wants of the relocation purpose. You could also have needs for a quick sale. There's an illness. There was a death. something happened and you just need to get out. Pre-foreclosure, you just can no longer make the payments. You know the bank is going to be coming. You need to move this thing. That is a specific type of an appraisal. And we use specific guidelines and research methods and look for specific types of properties that have already sold, similar conditions, similar market influence, to come up with those answers. So a quick sale type of thing, and there's a dozen reasons why you would want a quick sale. There's a dozen reasons why an attorney might want one. You're dealing with an attorney, IRS for some reason, you lost your business, it's tied to your house. You could need an IRS report. You could need an attorney's report to figure out what your best options are. You could be trying to consolidate multiples of loans, collaterals. You could be doing an estate plan. So there's many, many reasons why you would want to call in an appraiser beforehand, and you can. Now, again, we are not your advocate, and we are not going to try to get you the absolute top dollar. We're going to tell you truth, what the market is doing with the particular asset you have. Not going to sugarcoat it. Can't fake the numbers. The numbers are the numbers, and the system is the system. And whether we do it for private or we do it for a bank, the system's the same, just different reports. Okay, so let's say you inherit a property, an estate property. Aunt Sally passed away. I'm sorry for your loss, but here's the keys to the house. What the heck are you going to do with it? You might want to know what you're up against. You might want to know what it's worth. You might want to know if that's something you want to keep. Maybe you can renovate it. It's not quite in the condition you would want. Maybe it would be a potential second home. It could be for something for your kids, but it needs to be spruced up. You could call in an appraiser and you could get a lot of that information direct from an appraiser. You're not necessarily having to put it on the market. Maybe your nephew John might want it. It could be a family sale, and you still need to know a number. A formal licensed appraiser could come in and give you a formal report about the property, give you ideas on what you could do with it, lickety split. Probate is when it basically somebody passes away without will and it needs to go through court processes. A lot of times they need appraisals for that. Might be an attorney ordering it, could be a court that's ordering it. The homeowner that's currently in control can certainly order it. The administrators, the executor, executrix, anybody that's in the chain of command for a probate situation can order the appraisal. Let's see, what else could we do? I've done several lately where parent, grandparent, somebody ends up going to a nursing home and they're just not in the ability to go back home. If it wasn't protected in an estate plan, a lot of nursing homes and a lot of state governments will end up putting liens on the home, and depending on if there's equity there or not, the state or the nursing home gets the house, or you sell it and they get the proceeds of the house. I've done a bunch of those type of appraisals. If you see that coming up in your near future, you're going to need an appraisal. You can order an appraisal direct, call a local residential appraisal specialist, and tell them what your problem is or your situation, and make sure you tell them all about the property. If it's commercial, it's a certain license. If it's business, it's a certain appraisal license. If it's residential, again, like I said, single family, 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, condo, mobile home, that's a different type of license. So you'd have to figure that out, what your property is, what your potential is, and then call the right real estate appraiser. And if you call the wrong one, they'll steer you to the right one, I'm sure. Okay. Another reason somebody may want to order an appraisal is a divorce. And rumor has it that half of all marriages don't make it. Half of all relationships don't make it. I do dozens of them every year where a boy and a girl, or 2 girls or 2 guys, they end up buying a house together and the relationship just doesn't work. Happens all the time. To liquidate the asset, for somebody to buy out a second party or to refinance or to do something to liquidate the asset, or at least on paper separate the 2 of them, an appraisal can be ordered. I do them all the time. You can order it privately. You can wait and do a refinance one, But again, you need to know a dollar value. You're going to be going through courts, you're going to be going through attorneys, most likely, and you need a dollar cost for separation purposes. So get on it early. We're not an advocate. I can't come in high for the husband and low for the wife, or vice versa, high for the wife because she's leaving and wants as much cash. The value is the value, the property is the property, and the data is the data. There is no advocacy. I'm not going to be able to push it for either party. So one appraisal, if it's done correctly and it's the right type of property, should be pretty clean. There shouldn't be any issues, and most appraisals would be in that same exact range. So shopping around 5 different appraisals and getting, tons of money spent doesn't make sense in most cases. Seek your legal counsel, of course. If you're going to be selling and you think you know what you're doing, for sale by owner, partially on your own, you might have an agent put it in the MLS, but you'll do the showings and open houses. Again, you can get a neutral party, being the appraiser, get a value opinion up front, early. You have a number in your head. You have a number what the market's going to generate. Pretty simple stuff. We can help you with, again, what banks are going to be looking for if a buyer comes in and you're going to need to fix something. If something was built without permits. I mean, appraisers can walk you through and figure all that out and talk to you openly about the situation and if it will have impacts, what can be used for value, what can't be used for value, and how the process works. So call us in early. For sale by owner, pre-listing again is something we can start working right off the bat with you. We can discuss market trends. Is the market rising? Is the market falling? Is it neutral? I'm advertising. I'm doing this video in the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown. So not a lot of real estate's moving right now. Nothing new anyway. There's still deals that were in the pipeline that are moving, but not a lot of people putting homes on the market in the middle of this. So it's market trends. It's what we can discuss in your specific situation, in your specific market. Obviously, we'll give you a heads up and you'll know all of the rules. Private sale, there's a million different ways or reasons you can have a private sale. You own multiple properties, you inherited something, you got vacant properties in the neighborhood and you want to go and knock on the doors or knock on City Hall and get them at tax deed or some other kind of creative idea. You could be selling to a family member. Well, a lot of these things, an appraiser can be involved and help you. I can tell you what it's worth today, vacant and falling apart, and I can tell you if you put in $75,000 worth of rehab, it'll be worth $300,000 more down the road. We can give you as is, as complete. We can give you ballparks for a lot of that stuff, give you a nice clean report. It gives you the paperwork, it gives you the paper trail to understand your plan. A lot of that happens. I work with investors probably every month where they want to buy, fix, and flip. And they might not know right up front, or they don't have the time. They just say, hey, here's my next project. What do you think? Here's the address. I drive by it. I check it out. I go in, and if it's vacant. And pretty quick I can say, well, this is what you should pay as is, and this is what you should be able to get after you renovate it. Appraisers can do that. We do it all the time. Just an idea. We can do multiple projects like that. Vacant properties can sometimes get tough depending on the market. If there's plenty around, fine. If there aren't, then we'll have to do more research. IRS issues, bankruptcy issues, like I said, pre-foreclosure, you just know you can't make payments going forward for some reason. Spouse lost a job, injury, something's going on, something changed in your life. You can get ahead of it. Call in an agent. Call in a real estate appraiser. And we'll honestly walk you through the process, walk you through what your options are, and potentially get you on your way. You're better off selling it on your own or negotiating a short sale than losing it altogether, losing credit, and losing everything else in the middle of it. And I know for a fact the last one I'm going to talk about is ugly homes. I see the commercials every day. I see the billboards. I get stuff in the mail, the direct mail every week. Sell your home, sell your home, sell your home. And a lot of people are in the position that may be their best option. But you also look at a deed after the fact and you know the profit margins that some of these people are making. They're not doing it because they're nice guys. They're doing it to make a profit. They're doing this as a business. So They're potentially taking advantage of the ugly home owner. You may be saddled with a property you don't want, or you just can't keep up. Like I said, there's a million reasons why you may need to move or liquidate a property. You can call in an appraiser. Say, hey, look, I just talked to this guy. He wants to buy it private cash. Here's the house. What do you think of his offer? Why can't you? If a $300, $500 appraisal saves you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, that's a smart investment, in my opinion. So when you start getting involved, or you know you're going down that route, get an appraiser involved, please. So much money is left on the table in a lot of those deals. And again, a lot of people, it might be the best deal for you. And I would personally tell you that. That offer's a fair offer. This market, this time, your property, that's a fair offer. Run with it. If it's not, and I think you can do better, I'm going to tell you that as well. And my guess is 60-70% of the time, you probably could do better than that particular offer. All situations are different. I get that. And you just don't want to deal with it. I get that too. But that's just a thought. That's one reason in one situation where you could order an appraisal and probably benefit. Short dollars to get the work order, short orders to get the appraiser to come out and talk to you. The upside is pretty high in a lot of cases. So anyway, again, my name is Steve. I'm from hubappraisal.com. I hope you understand a little bit more about ordering an appraisal, who can order an appraisal, and a little bit more of the chain of command on how everything can be done. We're not enemies. We're not real estate agents. We don't want anything after the fact per se. We just want to give you the truth, give you the facts, and we're a one and done. Here's your report on today's date for your property in your today's market, and hopefully help you through a lot of situations without any more stress than you need to have. Consider us a friend. Give us a call. Enjoy your day. If you're in the middle of this COVID-19 lockdown like I am, stay safe. And thanks for joining in. Bye.